Good morning, Barry Bryson here. Thank you for joining me for another 5 good minutes with the Word. We're in Matthew's Gospel today, and we're going to talk about two different miracle accounts that follow right on the heels of each other in Matthew chapter 9. We're going to read verses 27 through 34. Jesus passed on from there, Capernaum. Two blind men followed him, crying aloud, "Have mercy on us, Son of David." And when he entered the house, the blind men came to him. And Jesus said to them, "Do you believe that I am able to do this?" And they said to him, "Yes, Lord." Then he touched their eyes, saying, "According to your faith be it done for you." And their eyes were opened, and Jesus sternly warned them, see that no one knows about this." But they went away and spread his fame throughout all the district. And as they were going away, behold, a demon-oppressed man who was mute was brought to him. And when the demon had been cast out, the mute man began to speak. And crowds marveled, saying, "Never was anything like this seen in Israel." But the Pharisees said, "He casts out demons by the prince of demons." In terms of the first account, many want to compare this with the healing of blind Bartimaeus from Mark's Gospel. And I don't believe these are the same events at all. We are dealing with the healing of blindness, and we are connected by the phrase "son of David," which is this equivalent to calling him the Messiah. So, and blind Bartimaeus does that in Mark's Gospel. That's at the end of Jesus' ministry. This is towards the beginning of Jesus' ministry. That happens in Jericho. This happens, which is in Judea. This happens in Capernaum, which is in Galilee. That involved one blind man. This involves two. That happened in a house, or this happens in a house. Blind Bartimaeus was healed by the roadside. I don't think it's the same event at all. It's interesting that, of course, Jesus heals them. He says, "Do you believe that I'm able to do this?" And they said, "Yes." And he says, literally, let this faith then happen to you. And so he's celebrating their agency of faith as well, like he did the woman who was healed with the hemorrhaging in the last account. And so there's that. Then he tells them not to tell anybody about it. Now, when we talked about the lepers a few days ago, there was a reason he told them not to tell anybody about it, and it wasn't to keep it secret, because there was a crowd there. It was to do what the law said, which is go and tell the priest. And because until you were cleared by the priest, you were not, legally speaking, well yet. And we talked about the fact that they called everything that was dermatological leprosy until they knew whether it was actual leprosy or not. Actual leprosy did not clear up and has not cleared up. There was no real treatment for it until the 20th century. So that's why it was such a feared disease to contract. So anyway, there was a reason for Jesus to say, don't go tell anybody. But those reasons do not apply. Now, he's in a house. This happens in a house. And so there are a few people there. And I think he really does mean don't go telling this story. And I think the reason is, this is just me surmising, they called him Son of David. They called him the Messiah. Now, he has self-identified, but you have to do the math and think about it to understand that's what he was saying. And these two blind men knew exactly who Jesus was and called him Son of David, called him Messiah. Maybe Jesus, in terms of managing the time of his ministry, the timing of his ministry, is asking them not to do it. I don't believe, as some have posited, J. Haley, quite famously back in the late 60s, maybe it was the early 70s, wrote a book called The Power Tactics of Jesus, in which he made the claim that Jesus was a psychological master who used psychology to manipulate. And in telling people not to tell these accounts, he was ensuring that they would tell them, and using reverse psychology. I don't necessarily buy that. I just don't. I think when Jesus said don't tell anybody, he meant don't tell anybody. The second event with a demon-possessed man who could not speak, I want to say again, that in the same way that everything dermatological was considered leprosy until it was proved that it wasn't, everything that was mental was assumed to be demon possession. So there really is demons possession in the New Testament. I mean, what Jesus cast out of Legion, those were demons that could speak and make requests, and so that's real. But is everyone who's brought to Jesus, do they all have evil spirits? I mean, there's the little boy who has the tremors, who seems like he's an epileptic person. You know, they didn't have the taxonomy that we have to name things, and any names that we assign to things are just a human construct anyway. So, was he experiencing post-traumatic issues and was unable to speak? I don't know. Whatever his issues are, they're resolved through the miraculous event of the healing that he receives from Jesus. And the crowds marvel, and they say there's nothing like this has ever happened before. And then we have this claim that we're going to circle back and deal with directly in chapter 12. The Pharisees said, behind his back, evidently, he cast out demons by the prince of demons. Well, Jesus is going to have to answer this directly, and he will in chapter 12. Thank you for joining me for another 5 good minutes. I'm Barry Bryson, and we'll pick up next time by finishing chapter 9. Thank you so much for your time.